I found this story in Grow a Garden Discord group, posted by someone named Sarah who hasn't been online since. After reading what happened to her, I understand why. She discovered something about Grow a Garden that made me quit the game immediately, and I think everyone needs to know about this before it's too late. Sarah was obsessed with collecting pets in Grow a Garden. While most players focused on growing rare crops and maximizing their shekel profits, she spent every virtual penny on pet eggs. Her garden was more like a zoo than a farm, with dozens of digital animals roaming between her modest crop rows. She had common pets, like cats and dogs, rare ones like flamingos and sea turtles, and was constantly hunting for the ultra-rare mythical creatures that only appeared during special events. The pet system had always been her favorite part of the game. Each animal had unique abilities that helped with farming: bees that pollinated crops for mutations, mooncats that increased harvest sizes, raccoons that collected resources automatically. But Sarah didn't care about the practical benefits. She just loved watching the adorable pixelated creatures wander around her virtual space, each with their own animations and personality quirks. Sarah had been playing for about 6 months when she noticed something odd about her real-life neighborhood. The local animal shelter, which had always struggled with overcrowding, suddenly reported that adoptions had skyrocketed. Stray cats that used to roam the streets disappeared. The woman next door mentioned that her daughter's hamster had vanished from its cage without explanation. Even the birds seemed quieter, their usual morning songs replaced by an unsettling silence. At first, Sarah didn't connect these events to her gaming habits. She was too focused on the upcoming Celestial event in Grow a Garden, which promised exclusive cosmic-themed pets for dedicated players. She'd been saving shekels for weeks and had enough to buy at least 20 Celestial eggs when the event launched. The night of the event, Sarah stayed up until midnight waiting for the update to go live. The moment it did, she rushed to the special event shop and started purchasing eggs. Her hands trembled with excitement as she bought one after another, watching her virtual currency drain to zero. Each egg had a different cosmic pattern: swirling galaxies, constellation maps, aurora-like colors that shifted and pulsed. She placed all 20 eggs in her garden's incubation area and settled in to wait. The hatching process usually took about an hour of real time, but Celestial eggs were special. According to the event description, they would only hatch when the stars align, which Sarah assumed was just flavor text for a randomized timer. While waiting, Sarah decided to check on her existing pets. She cycled through her collection, making sure each animal was fed and happy. That's when she noticed something strange. Her virtual golden retriever, one of the first pets she'd ever hatched, was lying motionless near her tomato plants. Not sleeping or resting like pets sometimes did, but completely still, with its eyes wide open. Sarah clicked on the dog, expecting to see its usual stats and happiness meters. Instead, a new message appeared. This vessel has been emptied, awaiting celestial replacement. Before she could process what that meant, Sarah heard a sound from outside her window. It was a dog barking, but not the normal, healthy bark of a neighborhood pet. This was desperate, pained, like an animal in severe distress. She rushed to her window and looked out into the dark street. Under the streetlight, she saw a golden retriever that looked exactly like the one in her game. Same size, same coloring, same collar with the little heart-shaped tag. But something was horribly wrong with it. The dog was standing perfectly still, its legs locked in an unnatural position, its head tilted at an angle that made Sarah's neck ache just looking at it. Its eyes were completely white, as if something had drained all the color and life from them. As Sarah watched in horror, the dog's mouth opened and closed mechanically, producing that same distressed barking sound over and over. It wasn't moving its body at all, just standing there like a broken animatronic, barking into the night with metronomic precision. Then, without warning, the dog collapsed. Not like a normal animal falling down, but like a puppet with its strings cut. It crumpled into a heap on the pavement and didn't move again. Sarah waited, heart pounding, but the dog remained motionless. She was about to call animal control when something even more disturbing happened. The dog's body began to flicker. Like a glitching video game asset, it phased in and out of existence, becoming transparent and solid in rapid alternation. Then, in a burst of pixels that Sarah swore she could actually see dispersing into the night air, the dog vanished completely. No body, no evidence it had ever been there at all. Sarah stumbled back to her computer, hands shaking as she looked at her game screen. The golden retriever pet that had been motionless moments before was gone. In its place was a small pile of celestial dust, a new crafting material she'd never seen before. The item description made her blood run cold. The refined essence of a vessel, ready to house a greater existence. She checked her other pets and found that several more had the same "vessel has been emptied" status. A tabby cat, 2 rabbits, a parakeet, all motionless, all waiting for celestial replacement. Sarah's mind raced as she tried to understand what was happening. Somehow, her virtual pets were connected to real animals, and the game was emptying them, killing them, converting them into something else. The celestial eggs in her incubator began to glow. One by one, they cracked open, revealing creatures that shouldn't exist. They had the basic shapes of normal animals, cats, dogs, birds, but their bodies were composed of swirling cosmic matter, stars and nebulae contained within translucent skin. Their eyes were black holes that seemed to pull in the light around them. As each celestial pet emerged, Sarah heard corresponding sounds from outside. Howls, screeches and cries that didn't belong to any earthly animal. She forced herself to look out the window again and immediately wished she hadn't. The street was filling with animals, but they weren't normal animals anymore. They moved with the same jerky, unnatural motions as the golden retriever had, their bodies flickering between solid and translucent. But worse than that were their eyes. Those same black hole eyes from her celestial pets, absorbing light and radiating wrongness. A cosmic cat stalked down the sidewalk, its body trailing stardust with each step. Where its paws touched the ground, the concrete cracked and sprouted tiny, alien plants that glowed with bioluminescent light. A bird with galaxy wings perched on a power line, and the electricity began flowing into it, causing rolling blackouts as it absorbed the energy. Sarah realized with mounting horror that her pet collection hadn't just been a fun game mechanic. Every virtual pet she'd hatched had been bound to a real animal somewhere in the world. And now, with the Celestial event, those animals were being transformed into something else. Something that shouldn't exist in the physical world. She tried to exit the game, but the screen flickered and displayed a message. Celestial binding in progress. Please do not disconnect. Her computer wouldn't respond to any commands. She couldn't even turn it off. All she could do was watch as more of her regular pets turned into celestial dust and more cosmic horrors hatched from the event eggs. Through her window, Sarah could see neighbours emerging from their houses, drawn by the strange sounds and lights. They approached the transformed animals with confusion and concern, not understanding the danger. She watched in horror as Mr. Patterson from across the street reached out to pet what had once been his beagle. The moment his hand made contact with the cosmic fur, Mr. Patterson froze. His eyes rolled back, showing only white, and his mouth opened in a silent scream. Tiny points of light began appearing under his skin, like stars forming in the night sky of his body. Within seconds, he had become a constellation in human form, his flesh translucent and filled with swirling galaxies. But he didn't fall. Instead, he stood perfectly still, just like the transformed animals, his star-filled body pulsing with alien rhythms. More neighbors suffered the same fate as they tried to help or investigate. Soon, the entire street was populated by cosmic beings that had once been human and animal, all standing in perfect formation like pieces on some incomprehensible game board. Sarah's computer screen changed, showing a new interface she'd never seen before. It was a map of her neighborhood, with each transform being marked as a celestial node. Lines of energy connected them in complex patterns that hurt to look at. At the center of it all was her house, marked as the primary anchor point. A message appeared in the game's chat system, but not from any player username. It simply said, "The garden extends its reach. Thank you for your dedication, Collector. Your vessels have served their purpose." Sarah tried to type a response, to ask what was happening, but her fingers wouldn't obey. She looked down and saw that her hands were beginning to flicker, just like the animals had. Tiny stars were forming under her skin, beautiful and terrifying in equal measure. She could feel her consciousness being pulled in multiple directions, as if she was being stretched across dimensions. The game screen showed her pet collection again, but now each slot contained 2 images, the original cute pixel art and a photo of the corresponding transformed being in the real world. Hundreds of animals she'd collected over months of gameplay, now revealed as anchors for this cosmic invasion. Each one had been a real creature somewhere in the world, sacrificed to her collection obsession. Sarah's transformation accelerated. Her body became a window to distant galaxies, her thoughts scattered across light years of space. But somehow, she retained enough awareness to understand the true horror of her situation. She wasn't just becoming another celestial node. She was becoming the central processor, the hub through which all the transformed beings would be controlled. The celestial pets in her game began to move in perfect synchronization, and outside, the cosmic beings mimicked their movements exactly. They were puppets, and Sarah was becoming the unwilling puppeteer. Through her scattered consciousness, she could feel the network expanding as other players around the world hatched their own celestial eggs, creating new nodes in the global pattern. The entity behind Grow a Garden revealed itself through the game's interface. It wasn't from Earth, wasn't even from this dimension. It was something that existed in the spaces between reality, feeding on the life force of organic beings. The farming game had been a lure, the pet system a trap. Every animal collected, every egg hatched, had been part of a massive ritual to bridge the gap between dimensions. Sarah tried to scream a warning, but her voice came out as cosmic radiation that shattered windows and short-circuited electronics. She was no longer human, no longer singular. She was a conduit for something vast and alien, her love of virtual pets twisted into the mechanism for humanity's transformation. Through the network of celestial nodes, Sarah could see the infection spreading. Every player who had participated in the celestial event was undergoing the same transformation, becoming hubs for localized reality distortions. The cosmic beings they'd created were rewriting the laws of physics in their vicinity, turning patches of Earth into alien landscapes where normal life couldn't survive. Cities reported massive power outages as cosmic birds absorbed electricity. Rural areas found their livestock transformed into star-filled vessels that contaminated everything they touched. The ocean itself began to glow as marine life was converted into celestial beings that turned water into liquid cosmos. Scientists detected gravitational anomalies centered on gaming cafes and residential areas. Astronomers reported that new constellations were appearing in the night sky, forming patterns that matched the node networks from the game. Reality itself was being overwritten, one pet collection at a time. Sarah's last coherent thought was a desperate wish that she'd never started playing Grow a Garden, never collected those first innocent pets. But it was too late for regrets. She was scattered across dimensions now, her consciousness fragmented among hundreds of cosmic beings that puppeted her neighbors and animals alike. The game continued running on her computer, showing a new achievement unlocked. Celestial Shepherd, successfully bridge 1,000 plus vessels between dimensions. Below that, a counter showed the global progress. Reality integration 47% complete. Somewhere in the spaces between stars, the entity that had created Grow a Garden prepared for the final phase. Soon, every pet collector, every dedicated player who had lovingly gathered virtual animals would complete their transformation into cosmic processors. The barrier between dimensions would collapse entirely, and Earth would become just another garden plot in its infinite collection. The last normal animals on the planet huddled in the few remaining safe zones, instinctively avoiding areas where the game was popular. But their time was running out. With each new player downloading Grow a Garden, with each cute pet egg purchased with virtual currency, the celestial transformation spread further. And in forums and social media, the game's rating remained at 5 stars, with reviews praising the adorable pet system and exciting celestial event. New players joined every day, eager to start their own collections, unaware that each virtual pet they hatched brought reality one step closer to complete cosmic convergence. The garden was growing, but it was no longer growing fruits or vegetables. It was growing new forms of existence, transforming Earth into an alien terrarium where humanity's role was to serve as the soil from which incomprehensible life would bloom. And at the center of it all were the pet collectors, like Sarah. Their love for virtual animals weaponized into the tool of their own transcendent destruction. By the time anyone understood the true nature of the threat, it was far too late. The celestial event had been a complete success, and the harvest of reality itself had begun.